I'm preparing myself today. Hey, it's Romania Black. And yeah, I woke up this morning and was like, oh, I want to watch Buddy Daddies, episode 10. And then I was like, I'm watching Buddy Daddies, episode 10. Because, yeah, the last several episodes, this is a 13 episode season, and so we have 4 episodes left, which is just enough time for a mini arc of pain. Because ever since, like, around the halfway point, they have been hinting at the fact that we are going to have angst, and that there is going to be trouble on the horizon for Kazuki and Rei. And possibly Miri as well. And so, but the series has kind of brushed it aside. The series has been like, oh, don't worry about that. Oh, don't worry. Oh, here's Ray's birthday party. Don't worry. And oh, here's an entire episode about a field day that's really cute and adorable. And at the very end, they're like, oh yeah, by the way. And so it's like, and I am usually an optimist. I try my best to be an optimist. So when people in the Discord are like, maybe someone's going to die, I'm like, shh. Don't you even. So I've been staying off of the Buddy Days channel since the new episode dropped, because I knew it would be the weekend before I could get down to recording it. And so I have stayed off of Twitter spoilers, all of that jazz, because I was like, I don't want to be spoiled. I want to go in. But now that I'm here, I'm nervous, because I'm like, I am optimistic that no matter what happens in the next 4 episodes, we're going to end on a happy note. Now, this series has a very dark sense of humor, so happy note. I mean, the happy note in episode 1 was Miri's dad getting shot in the face, but you know, it worked out in the end, right? So I'm not sure what happy will entail with this series, but I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that it will be good. I'm at least hopeful it'll be good. Right. So that's what I'm looking forward to. But oh my god, I've been simultaneously excited and dreading this moment, because you know that things are going to start getting crazy and I'm not ready for it, but we can't do anything about it. I love this series, and I just have to have faith that the series is it's gonna make us hurt for a little bit probably, but then it's gonna put the Band-Aid on, and and we're gonna heal from it, right? Right, because so far, Rei and Kazuki, we've set up, they both had loss in their life, they both had trauma in their lives, and through this family they've developed with Miri, they're moving forward from it. And that's the only thing we can really hope for, is that we just move forward from it. So, But yeah, y'all, I'm really excited, but I'm really nervous, so we'll just have to see how it goes, right? So I poured myself a big old giant cup of coffee this morning and was like, well, if we gotta deal with it, we gotta deal with it, but I'm not ready. So yeah, but what can we do? So I hope y'all enjoy this reaction and discussion, but let's not waste any more time, shall we? We are going to start Buddy Daddies episode 10, and we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. I'm straight up not having a good time, bro. I was expecting tears to fall, like maybe episode 11, episode 12, but no, we're just getting there right now. Which, okay, we could maybe look at this positively. Maybe there's hope. There's lots of things that present themselves as options in this, and I feel like having this heartbreak happen this early on in the season, in the final act, I feel like having this heartbreak happen now is maybe beneficial to us. We'll talk about this. Maybe beneficial to us. We'll talk about all of our options. I didn't want to bring Whiteboard Coon out because I didn't want Whiteboard Coon to cry either. But we'll go through this. Like, you know what? No, screw it. We're gonna bring Whiteboard Coon out. Thinking I wouldn't need Whiteboard Coon for this episode. This hurt. This really hurt. Like from the onset, like it was just, this hurt a lot. And it hurt because I know there's gonna be a lot of people that are against Miri's mom with this episode, and I am one of them for reasons. But at the same time, this show could have had her just like come and try to take the kid for no reason, right? And not have changed, right? And not have changed her personality or anything. But I do genuinely think that having a scare, like having this cancer scare, has made her like reevaluate herself and reevaluate her life. I really think it has. And that's what makes it so hard, because I think she has reevaluated her life and has realized, shit, I gave my kid up, the one thing that was technically mine, my child, and I've given her up and wasn't good to her. And so she's trying to make amends and atone for that. But at the same time, it's both good in a way for Kazuki and Rei, and we'll talk about it, but it's also really bad because she isn't thinking, like Rei said, she isn't thinking about Miri entirely. She's also thinking about herself. And so it's really complicated. And I was like, this show, damn it had to go this realistic route and make a genuine problem come up. And the way that she does certain things with Miri, I've had friends that have had divorced parents, and some of the things she does, I'm like, oh, that's exactly what they've gone through. That is a full-blown thing. The only benefit to this is that Miri is young enough that she doesn't get all of it. She's only 4 going on 5. If it's around Christmas, somebody in the Discord, I think, said her birthday was in November. So she's 5 now. She's 5 years old. If that's the case, because we're assuming this is around Christmas time. Although they put Christmas decorations out at Halloween, so it could be November still, right? It may not even be December yet. It could still be November. Could be around her birthday. I feel like it's weird that they didn't celebrate Miri's birthday in this, but we celebrated Rei's. So maybe it is November and it's just not her birthday yet. Maybe. And they're just practicing for Christmas early. Because honestly, here's the thing. Like at my school, when we had like little kids' Christmas pageants, we like started practicing songs back in Halloween because it took that long to get the little kids to remember the songs, right? So we started practicing those really early. So it could be that it's around November and they've just put out Christmas decorations and they've just been like, oh yeah, we're already celebrating and just getting ready for the actual program. But oh my God, the one thing is Miri is young enough that she either won't fully remember everything that's happened at this time, doesn't fully remember it and won't fully recall it, and also she's perceptive. We've established that. She's a perceptive kid. But like Rei said, there's things she doesn't understand and she's not going to be old enough to get. So that may actually work to everyone's benefit, that she just isn't old enough to get it, right? That may work to the benefit of everybody there. But man, I cried. I was like, oh, you're not going to get me Buddy Daddies. And I full on was going to sob. I was like, no, hold it together. And then the moment Rei hugged her in the restaurant, I was like, and then Rei with the fumbling lip up on the Ferris wheel. This show, it has us in the palm of its hand and it's just like, hee. And I'm like, okay, but I want to bring my work out because we have possibilities. We have options. I'm going to be the world's biggest optimist and go through like ways this can all work out. This is only episode 10. We have 3 more episodes. We got tons of time to fix this. Tons of time. But yeah, because I think in the end, it's going to have to be a co-relationship between Rei and Kazuki and Miri's mom and Misaki. I think between Misaki, Rei, and Kazuki, it's going to have to be this synchronous relationship, because if she has cancer and she's dying, we're going to talk about that they're going to need to be there for Miri, because she says she's going to go back to her parents, but I'm like, that may not be a stable environment as well. And I think that Miri being with Misaki will give Rei and Kazuki time to do things, which we'll talk about, and get it to where I think in the end what will have to happen is that they both share Miri's relationship in her life, because Miri does want to be, that's the thing that makes it so hard, is that Miri does want to be with her mom. She does love her mom. It's apparent. She does love her. And we'll talk about the scene in the mall with the mothers. I think Kazuki feels like he's inadequate and isn't fulfilling that part of Miri's life. But no, the thing about it is Miri's young enough. It's not that she's choosing Misaki over Rei and Kazuki. That's not it at all. She wants all of it. Miri's greedy. She wants all of it. She wants to have her mother as well as her 2 fathers. She wants all 3 of them in her life. And I think that's what gives me hope that they'll be able to work out this relationship, is because Miri wants all three of them present in her life. She's like, no, I want my mother because she's my mom and I love her. We sang together. She made hamburger steak. She cares about me, or at least Miri thinks so. But she also wants Ray and Kazuki. So I feel like the show is setting up that by the end of it, hopefully, that they can all live out this relationship together, and maybe Miri can go see her mom one weekend and she can stay with Ray and Kazuki throughout the week, go stay with her mom on the weekends, because here's the thing, the daycare is not open on weekends. She could go to the daycare with her friends that she's made, stay with Ray and Kazuki during the week, go be with her friends and Miss Anna, and then on the weekends go stay with her mom. That could very well be a thing, because there's lots of little tiny little points here that the mom kind of reveals throughout the episode in terms of like her finance and stuff that I was like, And so I feel like by the end of this, they just need to have like a co-relationship where Miri can have it all. Because that's the thing, making Miri happy. Let Miri have it all. Now, the hitman angle is something we're going to touch on throughout this, because I think Kyu-chan, he's got ideas. I feel like Kyu-chan has ideas that he's working on, and we'll see about that, right? I feel like Kyu-chan is trying to make a statement, and we'll see how that goes. But God, this episode was hard. This episode was really hard. I want to go through it, but it was heartbreaking. Because, it's like, oh, we're going to have one big fun day before you go off with your mom and we never see you again. And I was like, don't say that, you goons. You goons. So, my heart is breaking as I talk to you all about this episode, because it's just like, I'm glad it's happening now, so we have 3 episodes to deal with it, because I have predictions of what's going to happen in the other episodes. So, we got episodes left. We're going to put them up here. Episodes left, we have 11, 12, and 13. 3 episodes left. I'm not ready. I'm not ready at all, y'all. Nope. So, here, and we're going to put over here, options. Options for Miri. Options for Miri. And why. And things that will remain after that, right? So, of course, we start out that we're doing this Christmas song, Silent Night, which Silent Night is such a, like, kind of a somber Christmas song, which fits the tone of this episode. But it's also a really easy song for little kids to learn because there's not a lot of words. So, and of course, Miri knows the song because her mom used to sing it, and Miri has such a pretty singing voice. Like, a lot of people inherit their singing voice from their parent or a family member, and Miri definitely has inherited her mom's singing voice, which is cute, which Taiga's just like, again, setting up many things to come. I love that Taiga and Miri are like besties along with their other 2 friends, and they're at the front of the class, right? I feel bad for Anna because I relate. My father and brother have a great singing voice. My mother and I, we can't sing worth a lick. We can't carry a tune in a bucket. And whenever Anna was like trying to sing the song, I was like, girl, I feel you. I would be doing the exact same thing. I'd be like trying to sing and everybody would be like, it's off a pitch or two. It's a little off pitch. So bless her. She tries. And of course, like little kids do, Taiga is like, oh, she made a funny sound. Like little kids are innocent, but they are merciless. Little kids are innocent but merciless. They realize more than you think, and they have no filter or self-awareness that maybe you shouldn't. They don't have any societal self-awareness that you should or shouldn't say things. And so he's just like, you're sounding funny. And it's like, yep, you are being 100% honest. You can always be, a little kid will usually be honest with you. It's like, But I like that Anna is really excited that Miri knows the words to Silent Night. She's like, good, you can help teach these children. And you're not getting paid. Like, it's great. But yeah, Taiga and them are so excited by her. And I just love the idea that Miri is having this wonderful experience at daycare. Like, she's made friends. She's been a class leader. She's been able to speak at the field day. Like, this has been such a positive experience. And I don't want that taken away from her. So Miri, she needs the daycare, right? She needs the daycare. Like, that's an experience that has been a huge positive impact on her. And here's what I think is going to happen is we go up here. I think that I'm going to put what's happening with Ray and Kazuki over here. But I think simultaneously through episodes 11 and 12, Miri is going to miss her papas. Right? Her papas and the way they do things with her. Because, yeah, the heartbreak at the end of this episode, and I was like, Ray and Kazuki are so, like, sad about it. They don't even really think about it in the moment, is that Miri's like, oh, see you tomorrow. And I'm like, no, her mom's going to keep you. You're not seeing them tomorrow. And they talk about Miri going into maximum sulk mode. I feel like Miri is going to throw such a tantrum and be so distraught and be so sad without them that Misaki is going to be like, well, shit, I can't do this on my own. I do need them here because she really wants to see them. Like, it's gonna make Misaki realize, oh crud, my daughter really wants to see them and needs them. Because Miri even tells her that when she's in the bedroom. She's like, I love my papas too. And so Misaki's kind of like, And I think Misaki, even though I do think that she has changed, I do think she's realized some things about herself. Old habits are hard to break. And, she was going to smoke in the house, and Ray and them were like, no, you don't smoke around her. And she's like, So I feel like Misaki is going to, it's hard to transition and let old habits die. So I feel like Misaki is going to have a hard time by herself with Miri because she has these old habits. She has these old ways. It's hard for her just to turn a new leaf and instantly be better. I mean, Ray and Kazuki have had all this time with her to change and to do the same thing. So do I think it's impossible for her to change? No, I don't. I think Misaki can change. I do. And I think if she is spurred on by the idea that she doesn't have a lot of time left and she wants to make that time with Miri matter the most, I think Misaki will change. But I think Misaki is going to realize she can't do this alone. Miri does need her two fathers. She does need them to come back in their lives. And so my hope is that by episode 13, Misaki realizes that Miri seeing Ray and Kazuki is needed. That's what I'm hopeful for. I'm hopeful that by the end of it, that she realizes that if we're thinking about Miri's needs, she needs to see her father as well. And I think that could be a beautiful thing because oftentimes when we think of divorce and we think of parents being separated, it just seems like a worst case scenario and that there's no benefit to the child. And I think this could be a good opportunity for a show like this to say, no, look, because Misaki is not involved with Kazuki or Ray. There's no rekindling of any romance because there was no romance to begin with, right? There was nothing to begin with. This is arguably, I was expecting Ray or Kazuki to get separated from Miri and from each other, right? This is simultaneously better and worse than that, right? Because on the one hand, oh good, Ray and Kazuki aren't separated yet. But on the other hand, which now, that was my fear. My fear is that Ray and Kazuki were going to get separated, leading the other to do a very dangerous thing by themselves that would put them in danger. I think the good thing is now, I don't think Ray and Kazuki are going to separate because they're all each other has now. They're going to stay together. But on the other hand, we'll talk about where I think they're going to go in the next couple episodes. But on the other hand, I think that they're going to be like very sad and everything. But I think, getting back on track, Misaki is going to realize that she needs the two of them in Miri's life. And that will be kind of a positive thing for a show like this, to portray a relationship where you can have co-parenting and it be viewed in a positive light. That's my hope by the end of the season, is that they're giving us in the most bizarre and weird way, a positive example of co-parenting where, yeah, you can have parents that are separated, but the relationship still works out fine for the kid, right? I feel like that could be a positive example of this, especially in a show that features a very non-traditional family. So I'm hopeful for that. I'm hoping that that's what the show is eventually going to get at. That, yeah, oh no, this girl can have a really great life with two sets of parents, right? It's kind of like if Kazuki and Misaki had been together and then separated, and Kazuki realized his bisexual awakening and got with Ray, and Misaki and then they both still wanted to take care of Miri. Makes sense, right? I feel like that's kind of the dynamic that's getting established here, but without the romance between Misaki and either of them, right? Blah. But I want to make a quick note. As we walk, I want to make a quick note as the animators of this show. I really appreciate that Ray is very slender. He's very toned. He's very buff. Kazuki, I like that they've always drawn him a little bit, he's average body type, of course, but they do draw him a little bit like thicker than Ray, and I've always appreciated that, and I noticed it immediately like when we see them both walking. And it could be that Ray has the skinny jeans and Kazuki has like the regular ones, but it just seemed noticeable. And of course they're saying Christmas is coming up. And he's like, yeah, I wonder if there's anything Miri wants. And Ray's like, Mario Kart 2. Like, obviously he wants that. Why would you even question it? Right? And he's like, well, that's what you want. And Ray's like, well, what I want is what Miri wants, obviously. And he's such, like, my brother. I love that Ray's like, I've already pre-ordered it. like, got it already taken care of. We're fine. And Kazuki in the back of his mind is like, she's going to love that the most. I can't beat it. Like, you just know that Kazuki, he can't beat it, right? And he's like, then why do you need 2 copies? No, legit. If it's anything like a Pokemon game or something, you technically do need 2 copies. But I love it. I love that just the logic of it. And then there's the mom. And she's like cut her hair and everything. Mm-hmm. Yep. And Ray is like, isn't that who we think it is? And Kazuki instantly knows. Yep. I was not ready for that reveal. I was not ready at all. Nope. I was like, what can they do to make us feel really, really sad? Well, they can bring the mom back. And here's the thing. I was fully expecting to be 1,000 times against her. I was like ready to defend. And then the moment that there was that attention drawn to that neck scarf, I was like, oh shit, no. And then, yeah, because I can't be fully mad at her. I can't. But I also am like, we'll talk about it. But I was like, damn it, no. So yeah, she says Unasaki Masaki. Mm-hmm. And she's like, yeah, we've met previously. And of course, I love Kazuki and them are on the defensive. And Kazuki is very right to say you threw Miri out and said you didn't want to see her again. This is the really hard part about, we've talked about like the co-parenting and like a divorced family and everything. We're also touching upon the idea of foster parents and adoption. And to be honest, I've considered adopting myself, like many times I've considered adopting a kid. I don't want to have kids myself. I'd rather adopt a child because there's lots of kids that don't have families. But one thing that always does, because I've had coworkers that have adopted kids, and one thing that always is unsettling is the family that I've had that I know that have adopted kids, they've had the biological parents come back and try to take the kid away after they abandoned them. And it's just such a circus trying to be like, you abandoned this kid and I took them in and raised them for a year and now you want to come back and take them away? Like Ray says, after I've gotten attached and loved this child? That's cruel, right? It's very cruel. And it's so heartbreaking because yeah, it's such a problem. It's like you didn't want this kid and you were awful to them and now you suddenly have changed your mind. And she has kind of a defense to her, and we'll talk about it. But yeah, I don't blame Kazuki at all for being like, you were horrible the last time we saw you. And you, back in episode 3, and now you've decided that you've changed your tune? Why is it? And at first when we meet her, I thought that it was going to be like she wanted the money. Like she realized they were rich, she wanted money, she wanted to take her away, or she'd gotten some money from the biological dad somehow. I thought it was something connected to that. It's not, which I'm glad about. I'm glad that it at least doesn't seem like it's not nefarious that she wants Miri back. There's a genuine, heartfelt reason for it, but we'll talk about this. Because yeah, Kazuki's like, you didn't want to see her anymore. Like, what's the deal? What are you thinking? And she's like, I'm her mom. She's like, I have the right to live with my daughter. And she's not wrong, even though Kazuki says it's too late for that. She's not necessarily wrong. And I like that Ray is a calming presence. Ray's like, whoa, hold on. Hold up. Whoa. I like that Ray is this calming presence for him, being like, whoa, chill out, dude. We're in front of the daycare. We don't want to cause a scuttle and raise a scene in front of Miri's friend's family. We don't want to do that, right? There's the mom blog. Don't forget. Yeah, because all the moms are like sitting there looking. And then Miri sees her mom and runs to her. And Kazuki's saying, wait. This part was so hard. Because Kazuki says to wait. And man, the way they animate him in that moment, he looks so heartbroken. Because yeah, it's just like, Kazuki has always struggled with Miri loving him because he's always wanted to be a parent. And he's always wanted to have that child's love for himself in a lot of ways. And so Miri's given him that. And so for her to direct that attention to it's funny when she directs it to Ray because Kazuki knows that at the end of the day, Miri loves both him and Ray equally, right? But Kazuki has this fear that she's going to love her real mom more than him. And that his love isn't going to matter to her, which is very much an in his head feeling because Miri loves them both equally. She loves all three of them equally. That's the beautiful thing. The beautiful thing is in this episode, Miri wants to be with her mother, Ray, and Kazuki. She wants to be with all three of them equally. That's like the innocent, great thing that we see as the audience is that Miri's not choosing sides. Miri's greedy. She wants all of it. She's like, I want my cake and to eat it too. But Kazuki is thinking more in terms of binaries that she either has to pick one or the other. And she doesn't. She can have all three. So, she needs the daycare. So I get the impression that Miri's mom does not live near the daycare. So she could stay with Ray and Kazuki for like the weekdays, right? And then go to her mom, Misaki, on the weekend. And honestly, if Misaki is struggling with her health, that would be the better case scenario because then Miri could see her mom 2 days on the weekend every week, which is good, but then she's not seeing her and overrunning her because that's the thing too, is that Miri is a very demanding child. She's a little kid, right? She has all these demands and Kazuki and Ray are young. They can keep up with her. But if Misaki's health starts to deteriorate, she's not going to be able to devote all that time to Miri. And that's going to wear her out. And so I feel like during these episodes here, Misaki's going to get wore out. Misaki's going to be like, oh God, I forgot how much of a handful you can be. And not that that's a bad thing, but she's going to be like, oh crap, I forgot how taxing it is to take care of a kid. And I think that during episodes 11 and 12, she's going to realize it would be very convenient if I had a place to take you during the week when I'm not feeling well and up to it. And then by episode 13, I think she's going to make a deal with Kazuki and Ray being like, hey, can you take care of her during the week and I'll take her on the weekends and we just work this out and just make this work for her? Because yeah, by the time Miri gets older, we don't know Misaki. Misaki may go into remission. She may be fine the rest of her life. We don't know. She may be perfectly fine after this, and that's all it took. And I hope, I don't wish cancer on anybody. When the moment she said that, I was like, oh my God, that's heartbreaking. But I don't wish that on anyone, so I'm hoping that it goes in remission, she's fine. But I feel like Misaki is going to be like, I need some help. And I thought I could do this alone, and I can't. And so I'm hopeful that that's where it leads to, that she needs Ray and Kazuki to step in and help. And that allows them to still be parents and have Miri in their lives. Because Miri's been such a positive impact on them that I can't imagine them without Miri now. And I don't think Q-Chan can either. And we'll talk about Q-Chan and all of this. But it's heartbreaking to see that sorry, buddy. I ran over Huck's foot with my chair. I feel bad because Kazuki he thinks it's either one way or the other. And it's not. But he's always kind of been like this. And he thinks that Miri is going to choose her mom over him. And that's not what's happening. But it's par for the course for Kazuki's character, right? But Miri just wants to see her mom too. And Kazuki can be so defeatist sometimes. And I like that Ray throughout this entire episode is very observant. And Ray is clearly seeing Kazuki's mental state and is just, and Ray doesn't exactly know what to do. I wanted Ray to give Kazuki a hug so bad in this episode. I wanted Ray to give him a hug so bad. I wanted the episode to end with him like wrapping an arm around Kazuki, but we're not there yet. Maybe we'll be there by the end of the season, but I needed Ray to comfort Kazuki, and it just didn't happen. But Lost at Sea. It's a very apt episode title for this, that these characters are lost at sea, that they don't know what to do without Miri. And that's kind of on all three of them. Misaki doesn't know now what to do without Miri. Ray and Kazuki didn't. It's all very appropriate. And this feels like, it felt like such the episode of the parent coming back after they've been gone for a while and seeing what their kid's been up to. And so Miri's showing her all the drawings. And her mom is really nice in this moment in the living room. And Ray and Kazuki are both like aptly annoyed because they're like, what do we do? And she says, you must have a lot of friends. And Kazuki's like, we should have told her to pound sand. And Ray's like, we couldn't have done that at the daycare, dude. That we couldn't have made a scene. Like, let's not do this. But here's the other thing. One thing that I thought was interesting is that Miri brings the mom to show her bedroom. And it's all nice. And the moment that she opens the closet and says, here's my clothes, and the mom says, oh, these are all yours? She says later, the mom says she lost her job, so she can't sing. She's going to live with her parents because she doesn't have any means of income. I think she's going to realize the cost it is to take care of her. And that if she's trying to find a job, she may need a job to work throughout the week to make money to take care of Miri. So again, she may need to go find a job to work throughout the week. She'll need Miri to go somewhere while she's at work so she can be with her on the weekends. So again, I'm hopeful by the end of this season that she's like, hey, can you all take care of her throughout the week while I work? And then on the weekends, I can have her and you guys can have a weekend to yourselves. I'm hopeful that's going to be the case. I'm hopeful that is going to be the situation, that she's going to want to get her life together, get a job, take care of Miri on the weekends, and Miri can stay with Ray and Kazuki throughout the week. I mean, that gives them 5 days with her, and then that there'll be like all weekend being like, where's Miri? And then on Sunday be like, Miri! Like, and then they get to have partner time together on the weekends. But yeah, I feel like when she sees how good Miri has it here, and once she takes Miri home and Miri doesn't have all those amenities, that she's going to be like, well, maybe for Miri's sake, this would be better for her to spend time with them as well, right? That's just what I got her. Now, I will say, the moment that she asks Miri behind closed doors, would you rather be here than with me? That was a dick move. That was a bad move, because you shouldn't try to manipulate a kid like that. That very much felt like the divorced parent being like, do you want to stay here? Do you want to have Christmas with me or Christmas with your dads? And Miri's like, I want to have Christmas with everybody. So I'm really hopeful by the end of this season, like my ideal season ender would be on Christmas for Misaki to be with Ray and Kazuki in this apartment with Miri and all the Christmas food and all the Christmas presents. And for her to be like, hey, what about if I just see her on weekends and you guys have her throughout the week? And that's the end of, that's the dynamic they develop with Miri, and that's the compromise they come to. That would be ideal. That would be my ideal ending to this season. My ideal ending would be there'd be mistletoe and Ray and Kazuki realize their feelings for one another, but I get it that that's probably not this show. But if we just had a Christmas ending where after the Christmas program, like the end of the day, they see Silent Night, they see Miri sing it, Misaki like sees Ray and Kazuki at the program and she realizes they need her in their life as well. And then at their Christmas gathering, she's like, let's just split custody of her and we can all be in Miri's life and that will make Miri happy. That's my hope. That's my fingers crossed. I want that ending, but we'll talk about how we get to that ending here in a little bit. But that is my ultimate, like, that's my Christmas wish list, is I want that ending for them, right? But yeah, she does ask whether she'd want to be, would you rather be here than with me? And that's such a hard thing to ask a little kid because Miri loves her mom. And she's like, no. She's like, I love my mom. And for Misaki to be like, oh, but she's like, but I love my papas too. And Misaki, I think, gets it, right? She's like, oh, I'm sorry. I don't know what came over me. Yeah. And honestly, I do kind of get it from Misaki that she wants validation that her daughter loves her because she's never had love in her own life with anything else. So yeah, I get, and once we know that she's suffering from this disease, it's hard to like get in your own head about stuff. So And this makes me so emotional. But yeah, I get why I'm glad she said she was sorry. I'm glad she told Miri she was sorry. She's like, I shouldn't have asked that question. I'm sorry. But the moment that she heard that Miri also wants to be with her dad's, I think that's going to weigh on her mind. Right now, she's like, okay, I need to get Miri away from these guys because, to be fair, she is. I'm gonna play devil's advocate for Misaki in the vein that if she thinks that there's something nefarious happening with Rei and Kazuki, and Kyu has told her that, and she loves her daughter, yeah, I would be concerned about her safety, especially when we know there's an assassin taking photos of her, and her life is possibly in danger. I don't blame her for being like, this lifestyle, even though it's glamorous and great, has a lot of danger to it, and we'll talk about this. But I feel like Misaki is right to question whether or not the environment is great for Miri, because we've been questioning it all season, right? But the complicated part is, yeah, we all realize this is a very delicate, dangerous thing for Miri to be growing up in, but Rei and Kazuki are good people, and they love her, so it makes it so difficult and complex, right? So I can defend Misaki a little bit. I can. I get why she's like, this environment's not safe for her, even though it looks really great. And she brings back the stuff. And I like that Kazuki is very defensive of his kitchen. He's like, I don't want her in here making food. And Rei's just like, just let her go. Let her do it. It's fine. And so she's like, I'm sorry, I'm going to need to use your kitchen. And he's like, there's nothing worse than having someone else mess in your kitchen. And I like Rei's like, that's what you're concerned about at this point? That's what the problem is? And she makes the hamburger steak. And I love that Kazuki is like, my hamburger steak uses A5 Krogi Wagyu, like the most expensive beef you can get. And Rei's like, this is actually pretty good. Like, Kazuki makes the biggest delicacies. But dude, little kids' palates are the most fickle, easiest things. Like, as a kid, I just wanted to eat chicken fingers and hamburger and mashed potatoes. Like, I had no refined taste as a child. Like, little kids just aren't like that, right? I like that, yeah, Rei's like, no, this is great. And Kazuki's like, are you serious? And then, of course, they clean up. And so Misaki says, are you singing at the Christmas party? Now, the sad thing is that Miri asks her mom to sing with her, and she can't anymore because of her throat. She can't sing anymore. So that is a sad thing. It's beautiful that Miri has that memory of her mom singing, and she can keep that with her. And I hope she does. But it is sad because Misaki can't continue that memory with her. She can't continue to sing with her, which is really sad, right? It is. And then she's like, I'm afraid your papas would have to pay to have me sing. I can't give them away for free. And then, so yeah, Miri's like, pay up, papa! And Kazuki's like, hell no. And I'm sure that Rei notices that something's up, right? Rei notices something immediately is up. So we'll talk about this. She says, and she goes to, the thing is, she goes to smoke. So, she is still self-destructive. And there is the question. I could see somebody asking the question, well, does she really have cancer if she's trying to smoke, even though she's had that surgery? Because wouldn't you want to stop? From having a family member that had cancer, they still smoked, and it wasn't healthy, and their doctor told them not to, but old habits die hard. And that's the thing, is that I could see somebody being like, well, she doesn't really have cancer because she's trying to smoke. No, there's lots of people that still do. My best friend's mom had a massive heart attack, and she still smokes too, because it's that addictive, and it's the worst thing to do, but she can't kick the habit. It's ingrained into her. And so that part didn't make me go, oh, well, she's faking it. No, because that's happened. But it does make me think that she is working in the progress of changing, but she's not there herself yet. Now, to play Misaki's advocate, could Misaki change from having Miri in her life like Rei and Kazuki have changed? Yes, but you can make the argument, well, Miri was in her life for 4 years and nothing changed, so why would it change now? I think the cancer scare might make her realize, because yeah, before, when she was talking to Kazuki back in episode 3, Misaki was very much like, well, I have all these ambitions and all these plans, and this kid is in my way, and I can't have what I want because of her, so I don't want her around. now that one, those ambitions are no longer on the table, and two, she's had a health scare that's made her reevaluate her entire life, she's come to the realization that, shit, I made a mistake. I took something out of my life that I had right in front of me and should not have taken out of my life. So I feel bad for her in the sense that she's realized something kind of really life-changing. But what makes it complicated and hard is that Miri has such an impact on Ray and Kazuki's life that you can't just take that away. And so that's why I'm hoping there's a compromise at the end of all this, because I don't want to see these guys without Miri. It's just not a thing. I like that Kazuki's like, no smoking in here. And she doesn't even question it. Misaki doesn't question it. She puts the cigarettes away. She's like, okay. I liked it that she's like, and she kind of smiles there like, all right, well, you guys are in this nefarious organization or nefarious business, even if I don't know what it is, but you're keeping things healthy for Miri. Good. And she says she got fired. My man left me. And she said the cancer spread to here. And so I can't sing anymore. And Ray asks, are you going to die? And she says, God is so cruel. After everything I've been through already, he throws this on the pile. And of course, Kazuki doesn't care. He's like, I talked to you before. This has nothing to do with Miri. And she says, I don't know how much longer I have to live. So even though Ray's question seems insensitive, it is a valid question, because the thing about it is, and the thing that I think touches back on this, is that Misaki wants Miri to herself while she still has time on this earth. And while that is understandable, Ray and Kazuki are like, this isn't about you. This is about Miri. You're affecting Miri's life. So is what you're trying to do the best for Miri? And Miri wants to be with both of her fathers and Misaki. So I feel like Ray is very appropriate in asking her, because yeah, what happens if Miri goes to stay with Misaki and then she dies? And Misaki's parents have no clue about Ray or Kazuki. Miri's 5. We don't know how much longer Misaki will be with us, if it'll be for 20 years, if it'll be for 2. So that is a valid concern, because who's going to take care of Miri if something happens to Misaki? Who's going to watch her? If it's her parents, they're probably older at this point. Would they be able to? Or would Miri be right back on the streets like she was at the start of this series? So their concerns are valid. And again, I think there's a compromise that could work for everybody, but we got to get there, right? We've got to get to that point, and we are definitely not in this episode, right? And I do feel like Kazuki understands her. I feel like the moment she says she doesn't know how much time she has left, Kazuki gets that, because his own wife had her life taken away in the blink of an eye like that. Like, it wasn't expected. It wasn't predicted. It just happened. And so I think that moment, he understands where she's coming from, but she's like, I hope you'd have pity and forgive my selfishness. And they're like, well, you are being selfish, and this isn't just about you. It's about how this is affecting Miri. And I get Misaki wanting to have a fresh start with her daughter. She's come to this life-altering conclusion that she's been doing things wrong. I feel like I gave the adoption example. I feel like it's different when there are parents who have not taken care of a child since birth, give them up for adoption, and then selfishly want to take the kids back for money or for something stupid. That is unacceptable. I think that it's a different case when she's had this reevaluation of her life and wants to involve herself into her daughter's life. I get that. And I'm glad Misaki wants to be there for Miri. Miri does need a connection with her biological mom. I do think that's true. I think that she should, I think if Misaki never came back in Miri's life, that as Miri grew older, that would always be a sore spot, because Miri remembers her. It would be different if Miri had no remembrance of her mom at all, no memory of her, and just grew up with Ray and Kazuki. That would be a different story. In that case, the mom not being there is a good thing, because Miri has no memory of her. But Miri does remember her. She referenced her at the daycare. She has a connection with her still. And I think that as much as Ray and Kazuki don't want Misaki in their lives, understandable, I think that as Miri got older, that would be a betrayal to her. She's like, you knew about my mom, but you never involved her in my life. I wish I could have seen her before she died. Like, I feel like that would have been a missed opportunity, and I could see Miri being resentful as she got older and came to understand that situation more. If they involve her in her life now, I think that's going to solve the problem and be the better thing for Miri, because Miri loves her mom. She wants her in her life. She needs to be there, especially if she has the ability to. But damn it. She's like, hitting rock bottom made me realize what's most important in life. And that's kind of true for Kazuki and Rei. Kazuki realized what's more important in life too after getting to know Miri. Like, there's a connection there. She's like, I'm going back to my parents to make an honest go at life. And she says, all I really need is my child. That part there is the selfish part. Because she's like, she wants to take Miri for herself. And in that moment, she's not thinking about the fact that Miri, she's forgetting that line Miri said to her like 10 minutes ago that was, I love my papas too. Like, she is being selfish there, wanting Miri all to herself, when Rei and Kazuki are like, good, glad you want to be here and step up and be there for your daughter, but we've also been there as well. So you can't just cut us out of her life, right? Or can she? And so Kazuki's like, I need you to stop. He's like, and Rei's like, Miri's excited about her daycare's Christmas party. You can't take her away. Yeah, I love that Rei's like, you don't need to move her right now. And she says she's going to make sure she can stay at the daycare for a while. I'll rent an apartment nearby. I'll do whatever it takes to give her a happy life. Yeah, I feel like she doesn't live far. She doesn't live near here. So I do think that if they've worked something out, she's just going to have to see her for a couple days and then bring her back, because it's going to be too much to go back and forth, right? And Kazuki does say, you have changed. I mean, he does acknowledge that. And she's like, I just want to start. Misaki wants to make up for all the bad things she's done. And I get that. And I respect that. She wants to atone for her sins. But she also isn't taking Rei and Kazuki into account as well. And he's like, it's still all about you, huh? Yeah, and then Rei says what Miri wants matters too. And she says that she knows that. And then she drops the bomb of saying, but I know you guys. She says, I want to thank you for all you've done to watch over her. And at that point, they're like, wait a minute. And she says, but I also know you're involved in dangerous work. And at that point, they're both like, oh. And because Q's told her. She's like, I can't leave you in her care any longer. She's like, if you consider yourself her parents as well, then you have to agree. And that part is so hard, because it's like, there needs to be a compromise. But we've all seen this coming since episode 1, right? That not necessarily that the mom would come back, but the idea that, yeah, their life as hitmen is not feasible in raising a child. It's just not. It's not been from the start. We joked about it in episode 1, 2, be like, how could this work out? The answer is it can't. So something has to give. Something has to change. And I feel like that's where Q-chan is coming in to try to get something resolved, right? To figure something out, right? I feel like that's the case. Because then we go to the bar and everything. And then when we go back to the bar, man, like, Kazuki is just beside himself. Like, his hand hid in his hands, everything. Rei is sitting there with their traditional drink. She came in like a freight train. Exactly. And so Rei says that Miri was really mad when the mom was gone and left. And then it's a great visual thing where Kazuki's like, how did the mom find out where we were and what to do? And you can't see Q's eyes. They're blocked out. It's like, it was you, right? He's like, or Rei asks that. Interesting. And Q's like, I told her. And then Kazuki spits out his drink. He's like, why would you do that? And he's like, because you guys are in danger. And Rei's like, that's not the photo we took. Like, I like that Rei's like, oh, we're putting 2 to 2 together. Like, they're both like, that's not what we took. And he says, you're familiar with Ogino Rio, right? And Rei goes into like defensive papa mode. Like, the moment Rio's mentioned, he's like, who is that? What is he? Why is he after Miri? Like, Rei was ready to throw down. Rei was ready to get his gun and go after Rio. Like, he was ready. And Kazuki doesn't get as big of a reaction, but maybe Kazuki, here's the thing. That makes me think that when his wife died, Kazuki wasn't working with Rio like I thought he was. he might have just been doing a solo mission, and maybe the father of the organization, the boss, didn't think Kazuki could get it done properly, so he sent Ryo to finish the job for him. Because he doesn't seem to think very highly of Kazuki, and Rei's like, he's a prince, right? So I feel like Kazuki does not have the relationship with Ryo that I thought he did, but Rei does. Rei knows exactly who he is. And he's like, I'm giving you a warning. Her presence in your life has made your words. And Q is trying to like play the I'm gonna be harsh and push you away to save you. He's doing that route. He's like, but I think there could be an ulterior motive. But he says her presence in your lives has made your work sloppy. The organization won't tolerate it. And Rei knows exactly what he's talking about. He's like, that's why I contacted her mother. Get rid of her soon or they'll give you more than a warning. And yeah, and here's the thing. I think Q this entire series has acknowledged that Miri makes them better people. And I feel like Q likes Rei and Kazuki. He doesn't want them to regress, right? So how I feel like this is going to go down is, this is Romania Black's theoretical timeline. I think next episode, we're going to see Rei and Kazuki try to go back to work. But realize it's either not working or it is working and they are able to be a hitman again, but they still feel this giant epic void in their lives, and they realize that they really desperately want Miri back, and they're kind of despairing about it. And so my theory is, I think it'll either go one of two ways. Either they will decide to take on the organization so that they can have Miri in their lives, and they can, I feel like either one of two things are going to happen. They are either going to decide at the end of episode 11, we need to take on the organization and either get rid of the boss or get rid of Ryo and the boss or do something to make it to where we can have Miri in our lives, or we can live a life outside the organization because we really want Miri. Or I feel like Ryo and them are still going to get involved with Misaki despite them pushing her away. And that's going to force them to go against the organization. I feel, or Ryo is going to force them into action. The most heartbreaking third option is that they fall into despair in the next episode and Rei decides to leave Kazuki to go become head of the family, and Kazuki's left spiraling. But God, this episode was sad enough. I really don't want the next episode to get even sadder, but that's hardcore sad option. Middle option is that Ryo threatens Misaki and Miri anyway, and that spurns the two into action. Or other option is they decide to take down the organization on their own volition because they want to be with Miri. Those are the options. And then I think that whatever plan or action is going to happen against the boss will be in episode 12 because we've seen them in the OP and everything. And then the climax and aftermath and maybe the Christmas party will be in episode 13. And that would be a nice bookend. Like, we started the series off at Christmas with them meeting Miri and her falling into their lives. And I want the series to end with them having Miri in their lives at the end, right? I don't want a sad ending, show. I don't want a sad ending. The only way I will accept a sad ending is if there is a promise for a season 2. That is the only way I will accept it. I will only accept a sad cliffhanger or sad ending if you can promise me season 2 when they will fix it. That's the only way. The only way I'll accept it. Nope. Only option. Yeah, and so Kazuki and Rei are like, he's like, unless you're willing to turn on the organization. So I feel like Q asking them this question. Q does not make it absolute, right? Q does not say, yes, that is your only option. The only option is to let Miri go and finish on and continue with your lives in the organization. He doesn't say that. He says, unless you're willing to turn on the organization, right? And it seems like a rhetorical question. It seems like, well, he would only say that because he knows that's not an option. But I think with Q-chan, it is an option. He's like, you can turn on the organization. It's just going to be really hard. But are you willing to do that for Miri? I feel like that's the question on the table. That's the question on the table. I'm like, oh, are you setting this up, Q-chan? And Kazuki says he's considering it. I think Kazuki would turn on the organization in a heartbeat to save Miri, to be with her. I think he would. It's Rei being like, are you going to go against the boss, your dad, for your real family? Because at this point, I feel like Kazuki, Miri, and him are the real family. His boss, nope, it's found family all the way. So the question is Rei willing to go that distance? And I think by the end of next episode, we're going to find out. Because he said, you shouldn't betray my expectations. And Rei, seeing his friend fall, I mean, it definitely has affected him. But neither of them give an answer, right? He says, for the mother, and for Miri, this is the best outcome one could hope for. And right now, I feel like at this moment, yeah, getting Miri away from the two of them while Rio is stalking them is a better alternative. Because, yeah, I mean, in Kyu's defense, Kyu's options were, if he turned in all this information to Rio and the boss about Miri and Kazuki, then they probably would have been taken out because they would have been thought to be a distraction to Rei. So Kyu is trying to save all of them, being like, look, right now, until we figure out what we're doing with the organization, for the sake of you two, this is what has to be done to save Kazuki, to save Miri, to save Rei. He's like, this is the option we have to go with. And it's heartbreaking, but I'm hoping that it will lead to better things. I hope that this is just like angst, but we have a happy ending. And Q's like, you can't just ask us to. And he's like, have you forgotten? And he says, you're the ones who killed her father. Like, you did this. You took away her dad. Which, granted, her dad was awful. Yet you want to put on a smiling face and play the happy family. And again, Kyu's eyes are clouded in this moment. I feel like Kyu, this is not his real feelings. He's just saying this in the moment because Kyu has made the observation and the comment that Miri makes them better. So it's like, it would feel hypocritical if he suddenly had a change of tune. So the fact that we can't see his eyes is telling us that he's saying this to them to ground home the point of, you need to let her go for now. For now, right? And he says, don't you think she'll eventually see through that? I think she's already saw through that. I think she understands that her real dad isn't in the picture, but she's okay with that. And he says, put an end to the lies. This was only ever a dream. And it's so hard. Because by the end of it, I hate how defeatist Kazuki is at the end of it. He's like, we didn't change at all. I'm like, you guys did change a lot. You guys have changed so much and have become such better people that I'm like, don't deny that. Do not deny that, you fiends. Just, it's so frustrating, right? So frustrating. And then they go to the shopping mall in Merino City. So they drive away to meet the mom, right? They drive towards her. And I like that Kazuki, of course, is the overjoyous, over-emotional parent that's like, look at all this fun stuff. And Ray's like, yeah. Like, just being the calm and cool, collected one. She's like, it sounds like so much fun. And he's like, I bet you can't wait, Papa Ray. And he's so nice. He's like, yeah, I guess not. And so they're so excited, right? And I like that Ray goes, yeah. he gets mildly excited, right? Mildly. And so, yeah, then they go to the big rock climbing, the big jungle gym area. I freaking love that Ray is instantly able to scale it and Kazuki can barely do it. It's so funny. It's so hilarious. And then you have, like, Ray and her doing the dance together. It's really like the Dance Dance Revolution thing. It's so cute. And I love that he freaks out for her. He's like, Kazuki can be a helicopter parent. Very much so. But it's all from a place of good. And Ray's the one that's like, whoa, calm down. Ray's like the calming force to balance everything out, right? I love Ray pulling his hair back and getting on the rock climbing thing. She's like, Papa Ray looks so cool. And then, yeah, they have this beautiful day together. It's like the best day. And then he agrees to meet the mom. And they go to the crepe thing, right? They go get the crepes. And she takes Ray there. And Kazuki goes and saves their seat, right? And I almost thought the mom was going to meet them at the restaurant. I really thought that was going to be the case. But it's not what ends up happening. And then we have our indirect kiss. We have our indirect kiss between Ray and Kazuki via the strawberries and cream, right? Right? That was really good. I like that Ray kind of denies it at first, but then he agrees. Mm-hmm. And she's like, it tastes better when we eat together. And that moment where Kazuki like looks over, that moment where he's like, it's so great when we all eat together. And like Rei and Kazuki look at each other. Like, and like the look in both their eyes, like we wish we could keep doing this. It's too much. It's too much. And then she says, can't I have a little more? And she's like, no. And they call her Meanie and she calls him Weenie. It's really cute. And yeah, he cleans it up. And then she says that she wishes that Mama could have ate with us. And here's the thing, that is kind of the thing, is that I feel like of all three of them, Rei is the most in tune with what Miri wants, because he connects with Miri a lot more than most people think he does. And I feel like Kazuki and Misaki, both Kazuki and Misaki can get kind of selfish with Miri. I'm going to say Kazuki can as well, because Misaki gets in her own brain. Both Misaki and Kazuki can have moments of insecurity with themselves as a parent. Misaki believing that Miri doesn't want her, Kazuki believing that Miri doesn't want him. They both can be insecure as parents, and Rei is that like balancing act between them, which is why they should all three parent together, right? They should all parent together so that whenever Misaki and Kazuki have their moments of doubt, Rei can get in there and be like, quit being bakas. It's gonna be fine. And Kazuki realizes that, yeah, she needs her mom in her life. He's like, I bet that would have been great. It tastes better when we all eat together, right? You're totally right. The moment he started about crying and like gives her the biggest hug, at that point, I was sobbing. I was like, nope. And he says, thanks for teaching me that. Like, thanks for teaching me that it's good to be together. Like, he just hugs her like he's never going to see her again because he doesn't think he's ever going to see her again. It's so hard. And Rei just looking at him like he knows how much he loves Miri. I wanted Rei to give her a hug, but if they get back together and they get Miri back, you know Rei's going to give her the biggest hug. I'm ready for it. I need it in my life. Please. And he says, do you think we took her mother's happiness? And Rei answers the best way. He says, I'm not sure. If we told Miri the truth, do you think she'd forgive us? And Rei's like, I don't think she'd understand right now. Yeah, I think that when you explained when she was older and could understand, I think she would get it. But like as a kid now, she'd probably understand, but then she probably wouldn't. So it's like, now's not the time. But I don't think they took her mother's happiness. I think that at the time, they were doing what they needed to do. But now that the mom wants her in her life, I think if they didn't let her see Miri, I think they would be taking her happiness. But before, I don't think that was the case. It's just the situation's changed. And the moment that Rei's like looking at him, and Rei has been so understanding of Kazuki's feelings. Even if Rei doesn't quite understand them, he just looks at Kazuki like, dude, like he gets it. And he says, let's just have fun for today. Come on, Miri's waiting. And for Rei to be there for him like that, I'm like, show. You cannot convince me that it's not a thing. I love it so much. And the way that Rei's become this force of good for Kazuki. Oh my God. And of course, Rei does really well at the racing game and Kazuki does not at all. It's great. I love that. On the Mario Kart, Rei got first. He's like, yeah. And Miri got second. Kazuki got 12th. He got last. That's absolutely hilarious. I love it. And she's like, Papa Rei's so good. And then he buys her all of the toys. And they say she looks like a princess. And then she gets on the Ferris wheel. Yep. And God, this scene was so sad. Like them on the Ferris wheel with her. And then looking from up. And then that's when Kazuki brings up, do you remember when he brought up the cat, I thought he was going to say, if Miri's gone, we can get a cat now. And I was going to be like, this is a bad time to bring that up, Kazuki. Don't. Although if they got a cat by the end of the season, I would love that. If they got a cat to be with them. And he's like, you got mad. And he says, do you remember what I said to you? And Rei doesn't. He's like, that was a long time ago. He says, sometimes it's kinder to not get involved. And Rei's just like thinking about it. He says, if you're not really prepared, getting involved can make things worse. If you can't watch over them until the end, don't get involved if you can't see it through. And he does remember what he told him because he says it verbatim. Mm-hmm. But then Ray, God, this moment where he's like, to say that now, to say after we've gotten all attached, it's cruel. It's like, yeah, this whole episode is cruel. This whole episode is cruel, right? Because they did get attached to her and they do love her. And Kazuki says it might not be too late. And he's like, too late for what? And he says, for normal happiness. It's like, I want her to eat hamburger steak and smile forever. So yeah, Kazuki's like, I love this girl and I want her to be happy forever. And if we are thinking about her happiness, can we see this through the way that we are now? He's like, we've been doing real good, but it's going to get to the point where she's going to get threatened. Can we give her that normal life as we are now? And unless they make a change, unless they take out the organization or find a way to go into like witness protection or something, or that whatever version of that is, he's like, unless we can change the situation surrounding us, she's always going to be in danger. And she's just like an overgrown cat right now. It's great. We've gotten attached, but can we really see it through to the end? This whole thing with Rio has shown us that we didn't even know she was being stalked. He's like, we didn't even know she was in danger. If Q hadn't told us, she could have been taken out and we would not have known. And then it would have been on us. So can we really sit here and take care of her knowing she's in danger all the time and pretending like it's nothing? He's like, this is her chance for happiness and for a normal life as it is now. And that's so true. And it hurts so much because I want them to have her. And so it's like, I just want them to make it, the rest of the season, make it to where they can have her in their lives. But they realize that if we love her, we have to let her go. That's the sad thing. And Ray's like, I know. He's like, there's only one thing we can do right now. And then at that moment, she makes them look down. And I love that Ray's like, I want to get close too. I love that shot of all of them. I want that shot. I want to take a picture of it real quick where they're all just looking together. It's so hard that they see her. He's like, we've got more than our fair share. And then Ray says, thanks to you, Miri, I've been able to see things I'd never seen before. But I don't want them to never have her in their lives again. I don't want them to never have her in their lives again. I don't want this to be the last time they see her. I don't. I know we have 3 episodes left, but I don't want this to be the end. No. I don't want that. Nope. And then he gives her the scarf. The moment that Ray's like lip quivered, I was like, I can't take it. And he gives her the scarf. And then Misaki takes her. And God, that scene's so hard where they're at the docks. And Ray coming up behind him. I wanted Ray to give him a hug, but it's too soon. He says, guess we weren't able to change. Yeah. But you were! I was like, it's so frustrating. So frustrating, y'all. So I want them to be able to make it to where they can have Miri in their lives because she's been such a positive presence for them and she's encouraged them to have such growth and change as people for the better that I want her to be able to be in their lives. So I'm like, Q-chan, I hope you are getting them encouraged to do something to rectify this situation. To get to where they can have Miri in their lives. I hope that's where we're headed, right? I hope that's where we're headed because it needs to be. I think next episode is going to be rough. Next episode I think is going to be the hardest. I think it's going to go one of a few ways, but I think next episode without Miri in their lives, it's going to be hard. And I don't know, got stuff in my throat. I don't know the extent. I don't know the extent of how bad it's going to get. The worst case scenario is they like get rid of all of Miri's stuff. Ray moves away, goes back with the family. Kazuki's left alone and goes back to his old gambling and bachelor ways. Like, that'll be the worst case scenario, and things spiral out of control. And Q has to be like, well, damn it, I thought I would spurn you guys to do the right thing, and it's not happening. So that's like worst case scenario. But then another part of me is like, oh, they're not gonna get rid of Miri's stuff. They're gonna keep it there with the hope she'll come back. But are they going to be like just depressed and doing their job? Like, are they just going to go into hardcore hitman mode? Like, what are we going to do? Next episode's going to be bad. I am fully bracing myself for it to be the saddest, most awful thing in the world. But I'm hopeful that, like many fan fiction I've read, it's going to get really bad and really angsty, and then it's going to get better. So if this had been this episode, if this had been the penultimate episode, I would have been very, very despairing about next week. If this had been episode 12, I would have not had high hopes for a happy ending next episode. But the fact that it's happening this early in the season, that we have 3 more episodes to find a way, that gives me some angle of hope. So next week's going to be rough, y'all. I'm just gearing up for it. But I'm going to trust the series that it knows what it's doing, and it's going to lead us down a path that's going to get us to a happy ending. I hope. So, but in any case, I'm curious to hear your thoughts down below. I hope you all didn't squall like I did, but in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and I'm going to come in guns a-blazing next week, ready for the worst. But what can we do? But we'll see what happens with episode 11 of Buddy Daddies. Bye.